just keep coming.
About how often do you get a new shipment of them?
Well, during the winter, I was doing them every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And we would kill them in 7 weeks. They'd be in here for 2 weeks. We'd put them in that one for 2 weeks, and we put them down on the ground, and I have killing cones hanging here, and we'd be slaughtering and selling them all winter long.
So these are just the meat chickens then?
No, these are egg layers.
Okay.
These are 50 more egg layers.
Okay.
We want to double our production
Sure.
next winter. We've been doing 4 eggs a day, or 4 dozen eggs a day all winter, so we could sell 15. So if we can do 8 dozen this winter, then I'd have to build a bigger facility to do much more than that. I think I can keep 100 birds upstairs. But if you have the market, if you lived in a community where there was like 3,000 people, and you produced, let's say, you can make a couple grand a month off a building like this, doing eggs and meat birds for your community.
Okay.
I was making, selling my chickens this winter for $4 a pound, and I figured I made $10 a bird.
Okay.
Wow.
After feeding for how many weeks?
7. And they consumed 15 pounds of food in 7 weeks. And they weighed about 5-6 pounds.
Is that forced drinking?
Yeah.
Is that how you teach them to drink?
They hatch, and they still have the yolk inside of them, so they don't have to eat or drink for 2 or 3 days. So that's why they're able to mail them. So this is their first opportunity in life besides just chirping.
How much loss do you get in the mail?
These ones usually none. Occasionally, we had one shipment last year out of 25. We lost 11, but they just gave me them the next time.
My friend in Beluga keeps her little ones like this in her house.
Yeah, well, you can't keep them outside pretty much any time in Alaska. They ain't going to be outside. It's just flat not warm enough. You got to keep them about 95 degrees the first couple weeks. 50. They're still like they're a little over $2, I think. $2.30 a piece.
Wow.
I was getting those meat birds landed here, 25 of them for $41. And we couldn't get the backs in the jars, so we just took the backs and broke them in half and froze them. Well, we eat beans a couple times a week, and she puts a half of a smoked chicken back in our beans. And it's phenomenal. We list a little bit of oil and lots of smoke flavor.
Wow.
So we pressure cooked a bunch of them without smoking them in quart jars. You can make a batch of chicken soup in about 15 minutes. And then we took about 15 of them and we cut them in half the long way. So you had a leg and a thigh and a breast. And we put them in a crock and corned them, pickled them, and froze them, and now we just cook up a chicken and make boiled dinner all the time. It's really good. So we learned a lot last year how to get rid of our old layers. That was always a problem. What do you do when they stop laying? I've got a machine, you can clean them in a minute. So I figure these will eat 15 pounds of feed each before they start laying the first 20 weeks. So I'm going to have about $10 in the bird, in the feed when they start laying. From when they start laying till we kill them, they'll lay enough eggs to more than pay for the feed and make a profit. And at the end, if I can sell them for $10, what I had in there, I get that all back. So I'm really excited about, I can see I should really have about 300. I have putting out about 15, 20 dozen eggs a day, you can make some money. And then if I had a building a little bigger than this, where I had 300 chickens upstairs, I would be doing 25, 30 meat birds every week. And we'd be selling those at the market, and we'd have...
How far below ground are we right now, Tim?
Just the ground level right there.
Ground level's at the eave?
But it's warm. It stays warm down here all winter. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't get cold. So you could not do any of those things I just told you, like everybody else has been taught to do the last 20 to 50 years. You can't live above ground and do any of this stuff. You've got to be in the ground to store your produce, to raise your food, to build your house. It's expensive now, $7, $8 a gallon, man. We got to think about something different.
How long did you say those chickens are typically laying before you have to butcher them?
Depends on varieties. Typically, these varieties I've have over the years will quit about this time of year in the spring. These ones are supposed to lay this is the high production egg layer in the United States, these leghorns. They're supposed to lay productively up till fall, when these will start laying, which would work out perfect. Except I'm screwed next year, but I think next year I could get 50 egg layers in December. I can raise them down here, and I'll have places to put them, so I can rotate my flocks more now. I know how to sell my old flock, how to get new ones. So
about every year you'll rotate the flock.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm building. I need to build a bigger facility and get about 300 of them. And then we'll be processing birds. Man, everybody wants those chickens. Really good. You know, and I've talked about a lot of things, and I find you don't find anybody in our society agrees on anything. There's always differences. That's why we have such a big legal system. No one agrees on it. There's opposites, and the only thing I've ever found that everybody seems to agree on, they don't want to eat that chicken in the store. I don't have any complaints with that. There isn't anybody I find that really wants to eat one of those chickens. It's just amazing how that's such a known thing. You know, I saw, what's that newscast lady?
Maria Downey?
No, the big news. I can't think of her name. Who is that?
National?
Yeah, NBC News a year ago. Ann Curry? No, not Ann Curry.
Katie Kirk?
Katie Kirk. She did a story one time I watched. It was a week-long series about the food industry, and we're feeding all of our beef and poultry and chicken so much antibiotics that the people in the processing plants are actually getting deathly ill handling this, getting this antibiotics on them all the time. And in Europe or in Sweden and stuff, they stopped that about 15 years ago, and they thought it was going to be devastating and everything was going to die, and they haven't had a bit of problems with it. And in fact, they've got a much better food system now, and it actually helps the environment. But there was one point in one of her newscasts, she almost recommended that when you do buy this chicken at the store, you should wash it up with rubber gloves on. Have gloves on anyhow. And then they want you to eat this stuff. I mean, wear gloves to wash your food, but go ahead and eat it.
Is that the value of more organic?
Yeah. Month, end of June, even the first week in July, and we kill them the night before, or the week, Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and the toms have been 40 pounds, 40s, and all the hens are 23 to 28.
What big birds.
Yeah, in 20 weeks. And I was getting $100 a piece for them, but the guy in Palmer was getting, you can take that dirty plastic out of there. He was selling them for $4 a pound, and I know people would pay it. $160 a bird. And then I got worms down here.
So you got worms actually growing in there?
Yeah, they're all full of worms, and I should be taking them now as I finish planting. Well, they're all way down on the bottom because I haven't fed them in so long. And probably right at the bottom. I should get them out of here. Yeah. Usually they're right up on top when I got lots of feed in here, but I haven't been messing with them for a month.
Down here?
Yeah.
Goes out the holes into that trough, and the juice is gathered right
I
there.
got a pump.
You get a lot of
In fact, I'm only going to have 3 weeks to plant material sample. I'm not looking at it as a grain, I'm looking at it as a compost. The next thing we need to do to make this farm much more productive is produce a lot more compost. And there's no carbon source out here in the summer for compost, so I have to grow barley, this grass, and that grass for compost. Here's and I feed the bottom plant every morning.
Okay. So you just rotate?
Yeah, and I start with 3 buckets of grain hanging here for 3 days, and I rinse it and put it in there and run it through there.
And how much sprouts can you get a day out of there?
A
week,
full
or-
flat, maybe 15, 20 pounds a day.
And that's what you're feeding your chickens?
Yeah, the layers during the winter.
And what is that? What do you think that's going to do to your cost of feed?
Well, it's supposed to drop it immensely, but I didn't get to that point. I need to have a little warmer space. If I can keep that 65, 70 instead of 55, I think they'd grow twice as fast.
in here.
And it gets colder as you go upstairs. There's no heat upstairs.
Oh, the chickens are upstairs.